Good evening, Californios. This is PodCast28 for the weekend of December 4th, 2021. And we are Red Star Report. For tonight, on Voices for the California Nation, I'd like to talk about one of the nicest early Christmas presents the Republican Party has ever given to Californians. A gift that many true Californians would say is long overdue. Yes, I'm talking about it. Trump's personal yes man, fascist apologist crusader, and to our Golden State's everlasting national shame, an alleged California congressman who has apparently actually been living in Iowa since his family sold off their dairy farmland in Tulare, California back in 2006. Yeah, that's right. Republican Devin Nunes has announced his resignation from Congress, effective at the end of the year, in order to become the CEO of the new Florida-based, Trump Media and Technology Group. This is a supposed California representative who's put the cause of alt-right corruption and a fascist America and their future so far ahead of the people of California that Donald Trump on January 4th, 2021, literally in the last 48 hours of his office, awarded this boot-licking lapdog the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And Steve Bannon actually called Devin Nunes the second most powerful ally he and Donald Trump had in Congress. Me? The only word I can think of to describe Mr. Nunez is collaborator. Because Devin Nunes, as a representative of the California people, never made any sense. From the beginning, it would seem he was always in it for personal gain rather than public service, and his record shows it. Coming from a wealthy Central Valley family, Nunez graduated college in 1996, and then by 2002, through a couple of sweetheart political appointments and some dark money, he'd gained enough political clout to bypass running for any California state office whatsoever, and ends up a 29-year-old congressman from California's 21st district. That doesn't just happen without serious connections. And as a congressman, his anti-California values record is absurd. He introduced the Roadmap for America's Energy Future Act in 2010. That would have opened up California for more offshore oil drilling and nuclear power plants while gutting renewable energy development. Yay. In 2014, in the middle of that year's drought, he argued against the Water Delivery Act, calling climate change nonsense, and in an unhinged speech on the floor of Congress, blamed the drought on the 1973 Endangered Species Act. In 2016, he co-sponsored the Preventing IRS Abuse and Protecting Free Speech Act. Yeah, it's very Orwellian. It was a bill that blatantly promoted, if was not written by the Koch brothers themselves, to stop election campaign donations of dark money and prevent transparency. I know that shocks you. And in 2017, he supported Trump's ruinous Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was purposely designed to punish Californians for not voting for Donald Trump. That measure was politically engineered to reduce California's available state revenue, shift those tax dollars to federal control, and force California lawmakers to act more in line with the political goals of the federal government. His Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was Donald Trump's little fuck you to California to make California beg Congress for California's own tax dollars while it raised middle-class income taxes in a donor state of California just to lower the tax burden on billionaires, major corporations, and people in red states, the takers, you know, the ones who hate California. An inarguable betrayal of putting party and self-interest over what was supposed to be the people of his elected public trust, Devin Nunes was totally good with this. He absolutely stabbed California back in the name of Trump and American fascism, many occasions. Since then, he's been anti-mask, anti-vax, anti-Russian investigation, anti-January 6th investigation, basically anti-everything else that may have actually been of interest or benefit to California. So, yeah, I mean, we can go on and on and on, but from his questionable California residency to his toadying Trumpian cabana boy behaviors, it can pretty easily be argued that this asshole has been an embarrassment to all things California his entire political career. Now, it's bad news, good news. The bad news is that Devin Nunes is going to be the CEO of Donald Trump's own private fascist media company, whose very ability to exist would be in question if America wasn't a devolving nation, and is just another reason the California independence movement needs to exist in the first place. But the good news is that the Trump Media and Technology Group is based out of Palm Beach, Florida. So with no further reason to maintain even a token residence or presence in California, hopefully this collaborator will leave our nation state never to return, and we can all stop having to pretend that Devin Nunes is a fellow Californian. Devin, I'd say don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out. But honestly, as a fascist collaborator that has betrayed all things California for as long and as hard as you have, being spanked by a door doesn't even come close to the level of judgment I think you really personally deserve. Don't even get me started on Kevin McCarthy. This is Voices for the California Nation. All right. Next up, we have the latest and greatest activism in action with Shankar Singham. Take it away, Shankar.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Activism Inaction. Inaction being the key word, because action is not going to be where it's at, which is why I have this mask on. It's something that you see prominently at every protest. You've seen this guy at every protest, but you haven't seen this guy at every protest, right? So we're going to be taking these masks off. We don't need these anymore, folks. There's no more need to go out and do battle on the streets with law enforcement or the opposition, Trumpers, what have you, right? So let me get to that point real quick. Let's discuss, since it's the end of the year, let's frame what has happened this whole year, last year, and the year before, okay? Because I think 2019 was our last human year. I want to say that because it was really the last year that the human spirit and character was alive and well and was extinguished. And what do I mean by that? I mean by this. And what we learned from this, okay? So look, from 2016, from the Trump presidency on, to 2019, protest after protest after protest. We protested everything, the environment, healthcare, immigration, everything. Everything that was wrong with the U.S., the California independence movement went out to these protests to try to garner support, and it successfully, to convince other Americans that you're not American, you're Californian first. That was our reasons for going out to these activists, to these events, and in doing so, we built a somewhat of a name that they're the California guys once again. So in doing so, we noticed something. After all these protests, it didn't amount to shit. After all the marches and all of the event rallies and tents and setups, not one thing fucking changed. I wish I could say that all the scientists that we marched with and provided security for on their global warming marches helped. Look at where we are, folks. It's not. It hasn't. It's already been too late. I wish all the immigration marches that we went to helped, but more refugees pouring at the border only to be met by ICE, only to be locked up. The raids aren't being advertised or aren't being in the press much, but we were monitoring the ICE, the immigration customs, but they're flying right underneath the radar amidst other issues that are happening. It just seems, Women's March, the largest march in the history of Los Angeles, so in California, in fact, you have 700,000 people on the street marching for women's rights, but yet here we are about to see Roe being overturned. Then we hit into 2020. And a pandemic hits, and everybody's silenced, including all the activists. George Floyd happens. George Floyd was key for several reasons. The entire planet wasn't consumed with their own issues, whether it be global warming or immigration. This happened, and everybody saw it. So you had the entire planet, if not the entire United States, in solidarity that it wanted justice reform and police reform. The entire United States. Multiple cities, millions of people, all out on the street. Nothing changed. Not one piece of legislation. The United States hasn't introduced jack shit. The only thing that's changed maybe might be locally. Hopefully that works for some people. That's how BLM operates, locally. Hopefully in your neck of the woods there was some small semblance of laws that were changed or police reform, hopefully, but nothing national. A cop could get fired in LA and go work in Utah. So 2020, we realized that even if we all galvanize behind a single event, it isn't going to do shit to the power elite that control. Now we're in 2021. There haven't been much protest at all. In fact, the only people aside protesting have been the fascist side over weak issues or issues that seem very trivial. But I've talked about this before. It's not about the issue for them. It's about the practice. Now, this isn't just what's happened here in California or in the U.S., what I've been describing. This is what's been happening around the world. And George Floyd being that singular moment when we all galvanized together. The entire planet did. So let's take a trip back to 2019. Let's remember here. Hong Kong. You had thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people on the streets protesting the Chinese government from taking over Hong Kong or making their rule law in Hong Kong. And they were out on the street every day for months. And they thought of new ways of combating the state through their commerce or with umbrellas for the police. I mean, we saw the Chinese so innovative when they tried to when they were protesting the police. Man, it was spectacular with how they were doing it. And pandemic hits, shut down, and they haven't been up since. And then let's not forget Catalonia. This is in 2018, 1 year before, but still. Catalonia in Spain, they were made examples of for the rest of the world to see. This is what happens when you strive to be independent. The leaders of the Catalonian independence movement are all in jail currently. They almost had their independence. The Prime Minister of Spain actually gave them their area right in the middle of Spain, granted it to them. Why not? It wasn't until pressures from the UN and the EU especially to the Prime Minister saying, hey, what are you doing? You're going to screw up the euro, did the Spanish government enforce a brutal takeover of Catalonia, hospitalizing and jailing their leadership and thousands of Catalonians. So they were almost there. They almost had it until forces had to shut them down in Catalonia. Scotland had been fighting for their independence from the United Kingdom for 1,000 years now, probably more. They're on the cusp of independence. And then Brexit happened, which got more press than Scotland did. In fact, Brexit got more press than Hong Kong did, more press than Catalonia did. For some reason, Brexit, who was a fascist exit, really, got more press and more light than any of the other movements, because Brexit didn't really threaten anybody. But you have Scotland, who has the SNP, the Scottish National Party, in charge of Scotland, who vote the Labour Party religiously, but yet can't seem to get a Labour Party official into the UK Parliament as far as Prime Minister. Scotland has just about had it. In fact, I think they're about to just almost call it and give it another year for some reason. I'm not sure why. They should just go for it, Scotland. Go for it, man. You have 3 states in Brazil as well. 3 states in Brazil. So you have the big state of Brazil, and then right below it, there's 3 other states. They want out. In fact, they contacted our group about seeing our petition back in 2017, our 2017 petition for independence. Says they wanted to follow the same guideline. Of course, we couldn't give that to them. We asked them to speak to the state attorney's office and the governor's office. I think they did. I do believe they did get a copy. Who knows what happened? They were probably shut down. That president over there is brutal. I'm sure he quashed any sentiment of independence down in Brazil very fast. And then, of course, you have Hawaii, the Hawaiians, who have been fighting for independence or to recognize Hawaii at least for almost 30, 40 years now. They're never going to give up, and they keep losing more and more land and sacred grounds. And there's not a lot of land in Hawaii, folks. But the Hawaiian independence movement is happening readily. And then for 2019, the last but not least, the group that got the worst treatment by the elite, by statists, Palestine, who's been fighting for them, for their independence, for their just nationhood alone, for everybody knows how long, were this last summer are absolutely just under the guise of COVID and George Floyd, were just leveled by the Israeli state, led by Netanyahu, who just carpet bombed and just destroyed. The amount of dead will never be known, and Palestine just rubbles in the ground at this point. Gaza gone, just a horrible thing to happen to Palestine, all because of in typical Israeli fashion. They would do this under the guise of COVID and police brutality in the U.S. I mean, it's absolutely sickening. This is not what real Jewish people are about. Real Jews will never do anything like this. These are Zionist fascists who will spare no expense to destroy anybody they deem unworthy. Okay, I mean, these people, the Palestinians, have nothing there. There's nothing there for them except for that land that they've been living on, and for them just to exterminate them like that was absolutely deplorable. Palestine, of course, you have our support here in the U.S. You have a lot of Jewish support as well. Don't fret. I don't know if you still want that area. I mean, it's kind of screwed up. But none of this is going to be covered in the press, folks. None of this. Hong Kong is on. You hear 1, maybe 2 stories, but it's not in the mainstream press. Catalonia, nobody's even heard about it. Nobody will hear about that. Scotland, nothing. Brazil, nothing. Nothing. None of these independence movements are ever going to get a chance to rise up because of fascism, because of power structure. But when you have a group of people team up, group up, okay, and exert themselves and show more power than the state officials know how to deal with in any peaceful manner, that is strength. So how can we get that? How can we get that same attributes by not going out on the street? So look, all of us, and this is for the entire planet. I'm not just talking about the California independence movement. We're going to do it digitally. We have to do it through our computers at home. China's got the best computers for hackability. But it's not even hacking. You don't have to hack. We have to conquer this digital age. That's how we're going to win this one, folks, against the fascists. They're relying on traditional means of control, and we have to fight this battle untraditionally. So, and this is what I'm talking about, folks. I mean, this last summer, again, not covered by the press, you had hundreds and hundreds of multi-billion-dollar conglomerates hijacked their systems hijacked by hackers, held at ransom for millions of dollars, for donations to charities. Meaning, I've hacked your company. If you want it back, if you want your network back, you need to go to this webpage and donate to a charity of choice. I mean, this happened hundreds of times, folks, to multiple companies, and we don't hear about that in the news. The device, in fact, to hack into a company is so cheap and readily available online, it was ridiculous that a lot of people bought it and did it and were successful. They did get paid off by these companies because they either get shut down and get gridlocked for who knows how long, or they can just pay and continue on with business. So most of them paid, folks. Is it? Of course it's illegal, highly illegal, and plus it's the elite structure. These top-down structures who have been suffocating us have it that way set for a reason. And they have it suffocating us because they have the muscle power to do it. So the best thing that we can do is not to go out on the street for them to enforce that muscle power. We can do it right at home, folks. We can do it right at home. That's how we're going to win. So that's my message. And also I wanted to state, and I'm going to speak for the entire movement on this one, if I may. I think the entire movement may be in agreement with this. People of Hong Kong, people of Catalonia, we stand in solidarity with you. We support you. Please continue your fight. People of Scotland, you're so close. The California independence movement supports your efforts as well. People of Brazil, Hawaii, of course, please try again. Don't give up so easily. Hawaii, your land is yours. It will be recognized. All the indigenous, all around the world, please, we support your efforts to gain access to your resources once again. And, of course, the Palestine, please accept our California independence movement's most humblest condolences for your loss. And we throw your support behind your way 100%. It's a tragic thing. But know this, that all of us in these various movements, we are the future of this planet. So with that, I'd like to say thank you very much for this time, for allowing me to speak. This is a new future. Let's take it. Let's grasp it. Let's move forward in 2022. That's all I got. Hal, back to you.
Thank you, Shankar. Let's do talking points. Tonight on Talking Points, for our 28th podcast of 2021, and wow, can you believe that? I'm going to actually hit el numero uno of our California Independence Frequently Asked Questions. And I've saved this one for last on purpose. The reason is it goes like this. Question. Are you CalExit? The handbook response is to point out that CalExit is actually an Instagram hashtag. So basically, all things California independence can technically be hashtag CalExit. But that doesn't actually give the person asking the question much to work with. It sounds evasive, rather than what the answer is intended to do, which is to give a quick, easy answer to a kind of nebulous question. The problem is that many people will think you are just phoning it in at best and wondering what the fuck you're hiding at worst. So we need to dive a little deeper. Are you CalExit? Yes, we are. And or yes, we still are. You see, the idea of hashtag CalExit is directly based on the hashtag for Brexit. We got this when Yes California back in 2015 was a fledgling idea about California secession. Back then, they were actively looking for slogans, graphics, artwork, and legitimacy, and they didn't have any of it. They didn't know how to create it, and apparently couldn't be bothered to build it on their own, so in those early days, creating CalExit from Brexit, seeming like a parallel idea, was obvious. It's also the same reason that Yes California has lifted, and I'm going to leave that right there, their Yes California logo from Yes Scotland and the Scottish independence movement. But that's a whole nother Red Star Report segment. Anyway, the situation got complicated later when first Brexit's reputation became a question, as the consequences of England leaving the EU showed it to look like a huge mistake with a nationalistic and huge racist overtone. And later, as Yes California founder and its current fearless leader, Louis Marinelli's undeniable ties to Russia and Russia's agenda to use California secession as a political tool became a national scandal. That unforced error that people who believed in a real grassroots California independence movement couldn't tolerate and needed to distance from just for political survival. And lately, that situation became even more convoluted, as people who still want to see California independence but were disenchanted with Yes California's actions have begun to discover the movement we are working to build today. So, talking point. Are you CalExit? Answer. Well, depends on what you mean by it, but yes. We are the real people that want the original vision for California independence. We're a little less naive these days about how it will happen and what and how long it might take, but we're a lot tougher in our resolve to see it through, considering what is likely to be the coming American alternative. Especially in these times when the fundamental California values like liberty, equality, and democracy are in question in the United States. So yes, we're still CalExit. We're still hashtag CalExit. Even as we use new hashtags like hashtag NewCalExit to reflect the changing times, attitudes, and the need to strengthen that resolve. We're still here. We're not going to quit. And someday, we, as Californians, will be in a nation we can be proud of. So there's the final answer to the last question of frequently asked questions from the Independent California Handbook. Are we CalExit? Yes, we are. We are hashtag CalExit. But more importantly, we are hashtag NewCalExit. And that is Talking Points. Well, that's it for this week. Podcast 28. 2 more to go for 2021. As always, check out our website at www.redstarreport.com. Transcripts of talking points will be posted there. Also, hit the subscribe button on our Red Star Report YouTube channel. Go find our Red Star Report Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, etc., 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 because if you want a real California independence movement media group, it's all about the algorithms. I've heard that somewhere before. Our thanks to you and all our Red Star Rebels for watching. We are Red Star Report.